Few would argue with the claim that America boasts some of the most powerful pieces of military equipment on the planet. A crucial part to this military strength has been the diverse firepower provided by American aircraft. We thought it would be interesting to organize these aircraft into iceberg tiers to give an increasingly niche summary of different planes and helicopters operated by the American military. From attack helicopters to gunships, stealth bombers, and even cargo planes, here is the American military aircraft iceberg, listed from most commonly known to most secretive and obscure. This list will only include aircraft operated in the last 50 years, and while it is nowhere near a comprehensive list, this should at least touch on most of the prevalent aircraft seen in the different branches of America's military. The tiers are sorted by degrees of rarity and level of public knowledge, with the top tier being military craft that might be seen on a regular or even daily basis by service members, while the bottom tier is reserved for highly experimental and secretive projects. Another thing to note is that we will lump all models of the same aircraft together, because to do so otherwise would simply take too long. All that being said, let's get into it. Starting off at level 1, we have aircraft that regularly interact with American conventional forces. When the term military aircraft is heard, these are the first planes and helicopters that come to mind. Some of the most well-known aircraft would be transport planes like the C-130 Hercules or multi-role helicopters like the UH-60 Blackhawk. The C-130 has been in operation for roughly 70 years and continues to be the go-to option for military transport around the world. It is the longest continuously produced military aircraft and has several variants, including the legendary AC-130 gunship and the updated C-130J Super Hercules. The base model of the C-130 has a carrying capacity of about 45,000 pounds and has been used from Korea to Afghanistan by countries including Australia, Belgium, France, Italy, and of course, the United States. It is planned to be in service for at least another decade while Air Force research labs attempt to develop the next generation airlift program. The Blackhawk helicopter is similarly diverse, as its platform is ideal for creating variant models like the SH-60 Seahawk and MH-60 Jayhawk. The Blackhawk can be used for transport, aerial assaults, close air support, medevacs, and search and rescue missions. It has appeared in countless movies and games and is likely the most well-known military helicopter. Both the C-130 and Blackhawk have been in operation for over a half a century due to their versatility and reliability. After all, why waste money trying to fix what isn't broken? Oh. As for fighter jets, we simply have to put the F-16 in the highest tier. Not only is this the most commonly used fighter jet in America, it's the most commonly used fighter jet in the world. It isn't amazing at anything in particular, but it is pretty good at everything. Air-to-air combat, ground attacks, bombing runs, the F-16 is just happy to be there. Due to its commonality, it also has some of the least expensive parts, which has encouraged its continued usage. Like the Blackhawk, the F-16 has been in operation for about 50 years, though the F-16 is starting to see some serious competition with more advanced fighters that have better stealth capabilities. Another aircraft that is recognizable enough to be in Tier 1 would be the A-10 Thunderbolt, more commonly known as the Warthog. When the phrase close air support is uttered, the Warthog will most likely be thought of by most people. A fun fact about this aircraft is that it is the only aircraft designed solely for close air support to have served in the U.S. Air Force. The iconic brrrrat sound of its 30mm autocannon is beloved by America's soldiers and feared by America's enemies. The Warthog was introduced in 1977, making it also about 50 years old. Speaking of close air support, we also decided to put the AH-64 Apache attack helicopter in the most common tier. One of the deadliest aircraft of modern America, the Apache has gone on to be the primary attack helicopter used by Greece, Japan, Israel, the Netherlands, Singapore, and the UAE. It is an excellent choice for anti-tank missions, scouting missions, and anti-infantry gun runs. The Apache isn't just an attack helicopter, it is the attack helicopter. Next, we have slightly more specialized fighters like the FA-18 Hornet and the AV-8B Harrier. Though these aircraft may be more rare to see, they're still relatively prevalent in the public eye. The Hornet has a somewhat rocky origin story. Its prototype actually lost to the F-16 in the Air Force's Lightweight Fighter Program competition. Luckily, it was soon picked up by the Navy and later the Marine Corps. It specializes in high angle of attack maneuvers, and its wide variety of mission capabilities have proven it to be a welcome addition to Navy aircraft carriers. Our last fighter in this tier, the Harrier, is known for its vertical takeoff and landing capabilities. This Marine Corps ground attack craft began production in the early 80s and has gone on to serve in the Spanish and Italian navies. A variant of the Harrier has also been acquired by the British Armed Forces. The next tier on our list contains aircraft that are still common in the American military but tend to be designed for more specific missions. An enthusiast would still easily be able to identify these craft, but even military personnel might not see these every day. First off, we have the C-17 Globemaster transport craft. At first glance, this might seem extremely similar to the C-130, but the C-17 is definitely a rare sighting compared to its more common cousin. There are over 10 times as many C-130s than there are C-17s. The C-17 is a larger jet-powered airlift plane, while the C-130 is smaller and uses turboprop engines. The C-17 has an incredible 170,000-pound load capacity, more than 3 times that of the C-130. Due to its superior carrying capacity, it has been described as the most flexible cargo aircraft in the Air Force. The C-17 has been in operation for about 30 years and is thus a much younger relative of the C-130. Next is the MQ-9 Reaper, which is the current version of the well-known Predator drone. This unmanned aerial vehicle is able to carry 15 times as much ordnance as its previous versions and can also cruise at 3 times the speed. The Reaper is responsible for shifting the use of UAV crafts from reconnaissance and intelligence to hunter-killer operations. A little over 300 of these ominous-looking drones are currently employed, each costing about $33 million. The Reaper drone is expected to be in service until roughly 2035, and it is also used by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. It has been in operation for about 24 years, and some fun facts are that it is capable of reading a license plate from 2 miles away, and it takes a drone operator's commands 1.2 seconds to reach the drone, meaning there is a slight delay while operating the craft. Next up, we have the F-22 Raptor. Like the F-16, the F-22 is designed for a wide variety of missions, including air-to-air combat and ground attacks. But unlike the F-16, the F-22 has some pretty advanced stealth capabilities. There are currently only 187 operational F-22s, making it significantly more rare than other fighter jets. The F-22 is a truly modern craft with a built-in operating system that uses millions of lines of code. The F-22 has been considered so advanced, in fact, that a ban was placed that prohibited the F-22 from being exported to other countries. The F-22 has had a pretty short career of about 25 years and is currently not in production, as the more advanced and versatile F-35 Lightning has taken the spotlight as the premier modern stealth fighter. The B-2 Spirit stealth bomber has become the absolute authority on large-scale stealth bombing missions and has a unique look that's sure to make anyone stop and appreciate its creative engineering. The B-2 has been in service for almost 30 years and has been one of the leading pioneers in stealth technology that focuses on scattering radio waves in order to be nearly invisible on radar systems. Not only is this an extremely advanced aircraft, it's also exceedingly rare, with only 21 manufactured. Even though it is a rare sighting, we thought it best to put it higher on the Iceberg, as most people are well aware of its existence. Next, we have the MH-6 Little Bird helicopter and its attack variants. While this is an easily recognizable helicopter, it gets a spot below the top level, as it is employed exclusively by the 160th SOAR Regiment for special operation purposes. The Killer Egg, as it is known, has been critical in providing pinpoint insertions for American Special Forces and Delta operators since the 1980s. Its fully transparent front portion provides the visibility needed for landing on rooftops in tightly packed cities. It is also capable of being souped up with Gatling guns and rockets that can then provide fire support for its passengers. The Little Bird certainly has its own limitations, but when it comes to its specific niche of high-speed tactical insertions, it is simply unmatched. Speaking of fancy helicopters, the AH-1Z Viper is a descendant of the famous Cobra attack helicopter. The Viper was developed for the U.S. Marine Corps and is essentially a modernized version of its older relatives. It was declared combat ready in 2010 and fully replaced the Super Cobra by 2020. The Viper regularly competes with the Apache for combat missions and comes equipped with similar armaments as the Apache, such as Hellfire and Hydra rockets. Like most modern naval aircraft, the Viper has parts that can be folded in order to be squeezed onto cramped aircraft carriers. Next is the F-16's close relative, the F-15 Eagle. While this is absolutely a famous and well-known fighter craft, It has taken a step out of the spotlight with the release of new and improved models. The F-15's success hasn't just been in America. It has seen most of its action with the Israeli Air Force, where it boasts 0 losses in aerial combat. The F-15 was designed primarily as an air superiority fighter, but it does have the ability to conduct ground attacks as well. America began to push for the retirement of the F-15 in the early 2000s, but it is actually still in service, mostly in National Guard units. The CH-47 Chinook is another helicopter with an easily recognizable profile. The Chinook is a tandem rotor helicopter that has been in service since 1962. While the Chinook is the second heaviest helicopter in the U.S. inventory, it is still one of the fastest helicopters, even faster than the Black Hawk. The primary functions of the Chinook revolve around transportation and lifting heavy cargo. Some variants of the Chinook are capable of handling a payload of up to 50,000 pounds, or roughly 5,263 domestic house cat. While this is a widely used and widely known helicopter, we decided to place it below the most common level, as it doesn't quite have the same Hollywood media presence as a helicopter like the Black Hawk. The next craft in this tier is the B-52 Stratofortress. We've already covered some aircraft with long service records, but the B-52 has the longest career of the entire U.S. Air Force. Introduced in 1955, the B-52 has obviously undergone some major upgrades and facelifts, but in many ways it is still the same old plane it was 70 years ago. The Stratofortress is a long-range strategic bomber that can carry up to 70,000 pounds of munitions. It also has an incredible operational range of 8,800 miles before needing to be refueled. This means it could fly the entire length of the United States 3 times on 1 tank of gas. The initial purpose of the B-52 was actually to carry nuclear armaments during the Cold War. The B-52 saw action in essentially every major post-World War II conflict, up to and including the war in Afghanistan. The T-38 Talon is the final aircraft for the second level of the Iceberg. The Talon is an older but still operational 2-seat supersonic jet that is used for training American pilots. Most pilots that operate the Talon are from the Air Force, but it has also been used by NASA and the Navy. American pilots are on record as describing the Talon as unforgiving, as it was specifically designed to be basic and bare bones. There are no fancy tricks to this training jet that help the pilot. Flying the craft is a true test of aptitude. Our next tier mainly includes aircraft that have a certain degree of mystique and mystery to them, but are still relatively known to the public. The first craft that fits this description is the SR-71 Blackbird.
SR-71 ready for launch.
Arguably the coolest looking craft on the entire list, the SR-71 has been a fixture in several movies, games, and TV shows. The SR-71 was one of the first black projects developed by Lockheed's Skunk Works Special Research Division. The SR-71 was so fast for its time that its speed was its primary defense. If a missile launch was detected, the standard operating procedure was to simply accelerate the Blackbird and outrun the missile, rather than launch countermeasures. Even though the Blackbird was developed in the 60s, it still holds the record for fastest flight from London to New York at just under 2 hours. The Blackbird is still an engineering marvel, though it was retired in the late 90s, mainly in favor of using unmanned aerial vehicles as safer methods of conducting aerial reconnaissance. Only 32 Blackbirds were made, with 12 being lost in accidents. No Blackbird has ever been shot down by enemy fire. Keeping in line with the theme of extra cool stealth craft, the F-117 Nighthawk was another black project developed by Skunk Works. Rather than being used for reconnaissance, the Nighthawk was given much more aggressive missions. The Nighthawk's prototype model, named the Have Blue, was the first aircraft that fully demonstrated the viability of radar scattering technology used today. Though the Nighthawk is technically retired from active service, it is still used in training. The United States government didn't acknowledge the existence of the Nighthawk until the late 80s, over a decade after it began production. The Nighthawk did a great job of paving the way for future stealth attack craft, but it did come with some drawbacks, mainly its instability that made it particularly difficult to fly. A highlight of the Nighthawk's career was when it destroyed 1,600 high-value targets during the Gulf War. The V-22 Osprey is a uniquely designed tilt rotor transport craft that can give the best of both worlds with vertical takeoffs, seen in helicopters, and short runway takeoffs, seen in planes. It is, in fact, a new type of aircraft entirely that entered service in the mid-2000s. Similar to the Little Bird, the Osprey can trace its roots back to the failed Iranian hostage crisis rescue mission. The failure of this mission showed that there was a need for a new type of aircraft that could not only take off and land vertically, but also could carry combat troops and rapidly deploy them to the battlefield. The Marine Corps was seen using the V-22 in combat operations in Iraq's Anbar province in 2007 and in Afghanistan in 2009. Though still a young aircraft, the Osprey has shown that there is always more innovation to be had in the field of aviation. The F-35 Lightning is a supersonic stealth fighter that is capable of serving multiple combat roles. The F-35 was intended to replace the F-16, the F-18, and the AV-8B Harrier by being the most advanced and versatile stealth fighter ever created. The Lightning entered service in America in 2015, but saw its first action in 2018 in the Israeli Air Force. The stealth capabilities of the F-35 are simply unprecedented. As of now, the Air Force considers the F-35 to be its primary strike fighter for conducting suppression of enemy air defenses due to its advanced sensors and mission systems. Some things the F-35 are capable of include infrared tracking, geolocation threat targeting, detecting and jamming hostile radars, and laser targeting. All of the data gathered from these processes is consolidated into a single picture to give the pilot an advanced level of situation awareness. The F-35 is living proof that we are truly living in the future. If you thought the C-17 made the C-130 seem small, wait until we tell you about the C-5 Galaxy. All operational C-5s have actually been upgraded to the Super Galaxy model, which has a maximum carrying capacity of over 280,000 pounds, roughly 100,000 pounds greater than the C-17. The C-5 is also even more rare than the C-17, with only about half as many C-17s having been built. A fun fact about the C-5 is that it was considered to be an option for transporting the space shuttle, but the Galaxy lost this assignment to the Boeing 747. The C-5 is typically used for transporting the Army's heaviest pieces of equipment. It can carry 6 Apache helicopters at a time, or 5 Bradley fighting vehicles. The Boeing BC-25 is a military version of the Boeing 747 that is used to transport the President of the United States. The BC-25 is given the call sign Air Force One while in operation, and a fun fact is that there are only 2 of these craft currently in existence. The comfortable interior design was developed by none other than First Lady Nancy Reagan, though it did not come into operation until 1990 during the administration of George H.W. Bush. The operating cost of Air Force One is over $250,000 per hour, and if necessary, the President is able to address the nation from the plane. Other luxuries include 2 galleys that can feed up to 100 people at a time, as well as conference rooms, private quarters, and fully fleshed out office areas including 87 telephones and 19 televisions. The U-2 Dragon Lady is another stealth reconnaissance craft that has fallen out of the limelight in the past few decades. This was one of the first modernly designed reconnaissance crafts that helped pave the way for planes like the SR-71. Initially developed in the early 50s, the U-2 is, in fact, technically still considered to be in service by the Air Force and NASA. It doesn't have all the fancy bells and whistles that more advanced stealth craft have. The U-2 employs a more rudimentary method of avoiding enemy detection, flying really high. At a maximum altitude of 70,000 feet, the U-2 can safely fly higher than even super advanced stealth fighters like the F-22 Raptor. The U-2 is scheduled for retirement in the next year, and while it has fallen out of the public eye, its impact on the reconnaissance field will be felt for decades. Our 4th tier gets into the obscure. These include craft whose details are either deliberately kept secret or are just generally not well known. But all of these crafts are confirmed to exist under the umbrella of the U.S. military. First is the RQ-170 Sentinel, nicknamed the Wraith. This is another unmanned craft used by the Air Force to gather information for the CIA. While many details of the Wraith are unknown, it is confirmed to have been deployed to Afghanistan in late 2007 and South Korea a couple years later. One Wraith was shockingly captured by Iran in 2011 by the country's cyber warfare unit. The United States government initially denied that the drone was from the U.S., but President Obama did eventually acknowledge that it was of U.S. origin. Iran would go on to file a complaint with the UN over the airspace violation. Iran is said to have produced drones based on the captured Wraith, including the Shahed 171 Simorgh. Like many secret projects, the Wraith was produced by Skunkworks Laboratories and is rumored to be a descendant of the canceled RQ-3 Dark Star. The designation of the aircraft means that it does not carry weapons. It is believed that there are 20 to 30 Wraiths in existence. We note that the vast majority of images of the Wraith are artist renditions, as it is very difficult to find an actual picture of the Wraith. The WC-135 Constant Phoenix is another interesting craft used by the Air Force. This is a derivation of the Boeing C-135 Stratolifter and has the primary mission of collecting samples from the atmosphere in order to detect and identify nuclear explosions. This has led it to have the nickname the Sniffer. There are only 3 Constant Phoenixes in operation, currently in service with the 45th Reconnaissance Squadron in Nebraska. It can trace its purpose all the way back to the Partial Nuclear Test Ban Treaty of 1963, which prohibited nuclear test detonations, except for those conducted underground. The Constant Phoenix has countless onboard atmospheric collection tools that allow the mission crew to detect radioactive debris in real time. Most recently, the craft has been used to gather evidence of nuclear testing detonations in North Korea between 2009 and 2017. We've covered some large cargo transport planes in this list, but a smaller and lesser-known transport vehicle is the CQ-10A Snow Goose. This Canadian-manufactured UAV craft is designed for pinpoint delivery of small cargo items, including ammunition, food, and other supplies to Special Forces units. The Snow Goose can carry up to 575 pounds of cargo and was originally designed to dispense pamphlets for psychological warfare. It can be launched from Humvees, C-130s, or C-17s, and fully entered service in 2005. There are currently only 15 Snow Gooses, or Snow Geese, in operation. Keeping in theme with small and obscure UAV craft, the Black Hornet Nano is used by the armed forces of many countries, including the United States. This drone measures only about 6 square inches and weighs less than a single ounce with its battery. It is intended for providing additional situational awareness to ground troops. Operators can view a live camera feed from the drone, making it ideal for peeking around corners or getting a quick view of unknown regions of the battlefield. It can fly for about 20 minutes before needing to be recharged, but can be recharged to full battery in about the same amount of time. The Black Hornet is recorded as being deployed only with U.S. Marine Corps Special Operations teams, as it is considered too expensive for wide-scale usage. Estimates put the Black Hornet as costing almost $200,000 per unit. In 2023, the Army bought an undisclosed amount of the drones, some of which are assumed to be sent to Ukraine. Last in this level is the Boeing X-37, a reusable robotic spacecraft that is operated in collaboration between the Air Force and Space Force. It is on record as having spent 908 days in orbit between 2020 and 2023, and is also the first craft to be launched with the SpaceX Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy rockets. Its design is based off of the standard space shuttle and has been given the primary mission set of rendezvousing with satellites to perform repairs. The X-37 was originally under the command of NASA, but was transferred over to the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, at which point it became a classified project due to its potential military applications. There are currently 3 X-37s in existence. Our bottom tier is reserved for highly experimental aircraft, some of which have not even been technically confirmed by the U.S. government. As such, it is likely that a lot of details are a result of speculation or even hypothetical thought experiments, but we still thought it would be fascinating to take a look at the future of aviation and spaceflight. To start us off is the Hypersonic Technology Vehicle, or HTV, which is an experimental gliding craft developed as part of the DARPA Falcon project. This project focused on developing an aircraft that could reach speeds of up to Mach 20, more than twice as fast as the current aircraft top speed record. The purpose of this platform was to develop the capability to reach any target in the world within 1 hour using an unmanned bomber craft. Another way to visualize this speed is that it would be able to go from New York to Los Angeles in 12 minutes. The HTV is made of carbon composite materials carefully designed to defend against atmospheric heating. The surface of the HTV has been expected to reach temperatures of up to 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit, more than 1,000 degrees hotter than the temperature required to melt steel. 2 test flights of the vehicle have been recorded, both of which were only able to last 9 minutes before communication with the unmanned craft was lost. The X-43 was an unmanned hypersonic aircraft that currently holds the record for fastest jet-powered aircraft at Mach 9.6. 2 X-43s flew successfully in 2004, in which their unique scramjet engines operated for approximately 10 seconds, providing enough acceleration for the craft to briefly reach record-breaking speeds. The scramjet engine is an external combustion engine in which combustion takes place within air that is flowing outside the craft at supersonic speeds. The X-43 was just over 12 feet in length and was given a lifting body design where lift is produced by the aircraft's body rather than wings. It weighed about 3,000 pounds and was not designed to land or be recovered, meaning all test flight models were crashed into the Pacific Ocean. Building off the X-43's technology, the X-51 Wave Rider was another unmanned scramjet aircraft. This craft was designed for speeds of around Mach 5, which is slower than the X-43, but the X-51 was able to be made more durable. In 2013, the X-51 reached speeds of over Mach 5 for almost 4 minutes, setting the record for longest duration of a powered hypersonic flight. The X-51 provided more experimental data for aircraft that use compression lift as a method for maintaining flight. In compression lift, an aircraft's shock waves from extreme speeds are used to push the aircraft upward. The Air Force has previously expressed interest in using X-51 technology in missile systems that would have a range of up to 600 nautical miles and could be mounted onto F-35 Lightnings or B-2 Spirit bombers. We thought we'd end the video by listing a couple of canceled projects that would have really taken American aviation and space travel into the realm of the absurd. The Rockwell X-30 project hoped to create a single-stage spacecraft that could be used as a passenger spaceliner. This would mean that the hypothetical craft could launch from Earth and reach orbit without expending any external hardware. It would essentially be an airplane that could also make it to space and back. The ultimate goal of the project was to design a passenger ship that was capable of 2-hour flights from Washington to Tokyo. The project was canceled before a prototype was ever completed, though some very real research and developmental work was conducted. The concept would be another scramjet-based craft that would use the heat produced on its own surface for combustion in order to propel it to speeds of up to Mach 8. Goals set for the project were lofty and ultimately unattainable. The Department of Defense wanted the prototype to be able to carry 2 crew members and a separate heavy payload. Getting the craft to a point where it would be safe for humans made it too large, heavy, and expensive. Thus, it was canceled in 1993. The experimental research of the X-30 paved the way for the previously mentioned X-43 and X-51. Our final entry goes to Project Aurora, a rumored reconnaissance craft from the mid-1980s that was meant to replace the SR-71 Blackbird. As of now, there is allegedly no substantial evidence that it was ever built or flown. Former Skunk Works director Ben Rich confirmed that Aurora was nothing more than a myth in his book detailing his years with the research team. Some say the origin of the term Aurora comes from an unofficial nickname given to the Pentagon's funding campaign for the B-2 Spirit bomber. Bill Sweetman, an author on more than 50 books on military aircraft, however, states that years of pursuit have led him to believe that Aurora is most likely in active development now, since technology has been able to catch up to the ambition of the program. Sightings of the Aurora have also been claimed. In 1989, a British engineer working on a barge in the North Sea claimed to have seen a strange isosceles triangle-shaped aircraft being refueled by a stratotanker and accompanied by 2 aardvark fighter bombers. In 1993, There was a reported unexplained incident at Boscombe Down Airfield in England where an emergency landing was conducted by an unknown U.S. aircraft, after which it was promptly covered in tarp and removed by an American C-5 Galaxy. In 1991, a series of unusual sonic booms were detected in Southern California that were characteristic of a small aerial vehicle. It was thought that these booms could have only come from the space shuttle or an SR-71, but none of these aircraft were recorded as being operated on that day. Various other UFO sightings have been attributed to the possible Aurora project. Whether the Aurora actually exists is largely unknown to this day. We could continue for hours discussing hypothetical and experimental craft. One that hasn't been mentioned is the SR-72, son of Blackbird, which would be an unmanned version of the SR-71. But we think this is a good place to stop for now. We will certainly work on longer form videos covering some of the most fascinating and obscure aircraft known to mankind. But until then, let us know what you think below in the comments. Could something like the Aurora exist? Is it feasible for passenger spaceflight to be achieved in the near future? The answer to these questions and more remain to be seen.